Okay, Trinity, now tell us what happened today.
Wow, it has been a very exciting day for the people in Los Angeles. This morning, LA City Council unanimously consented to the RFP amended contract, which we were advocating for three major points, which did get pushed through. One is for Wells Fargo to be disqualified based on their downgraded community reinvestment CRA rating. Their ads needs to improve. The RFP contract states that the city has to have a bank that is of satisfactory or above. So A, they got disqualified for their CRA rating. B,
So for people who
now,
might not know, what does RFP and CRA mean?
RFP stands for request for proposal. Any bank that submits banking services for the city has to meet these standards and these criteria listed in the RFP, and one of them is a CRA rating of satisfactory or above. And the Community Reinvestment Act was created in the late 70s so that cities would hold banks accountable. So banks that assumes city contracts has to meet a certain criteria to make sure that they're giving back to the communities to which they serve. So Wells Fargo, due to a long history of fraud and corruption and just generally atrocious behavior, has a federal CRA rating of needs to improve. So the second thing that got pushed through with the RFP is breaking up Wells Fargo's contract. So currently they have over 800 accounts with the city of LA.
And how many do they have now?
So now they have zero. It's going to
Zero.
be zero. So those 800 contracts are now going to be separated into 12
I just want to see this face.
It's so 12 banks, 6 primary banks, and 6 secondary banks. And the third thing, a very important thing that we pushed for, was social responsibility. So, the city of Los Angeles has a fiduciary duty to put our public funds, our tax dollars, into banks that are ethical, that are held up to a certain standard. And so we pushed for social responsibility to be added in there. So the RFP contract now is going to have 30 points allotted to social responsibility, meaning that any bank that does submit services, the first 100 points will look at how sound they are as a financial institution. Once they meet 70 points, then they're qualified to move on the second phase, which is the social responsibility phase.
And what have you been pushing for hard?
Within that, the social responsibility will look at their community lending practices, any sort of enforcement actions against them.
So that means if they are invested in...
A third thing we're also pushing for is the environmental aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So as we're being told right now from David Harone's office, who's the legislative director for Metro Farrell, the environmental aspect is likely going to be inserted in the responsible banking ordinance, which is the RBO, and that's going to be effectively put into law, and that's going to be pushed into in January. And so I need to confirm that, but as it stands, it was an incredible job well done for this grassroots volunteer-led movement who's just been working tooth and nail for 9 months. We hope that today's action really inspires people, ordinary citizens, to rise up.
So did you guys have a giant budget?
No, we did this on no money.
No money?
We did no money, took long lunches, lots of sick days. My boss is not happy about me missing 2 days this week, one for the Fair Wells Fargo flash mob and one's for this, but this is a fight for the people that needs to happen, and we're in a very monumental time right now with all the divestment movements rising across the country. It's an incredible win for the people, and we hope this energizes other divestment movements, which are now moving into the public banking sector. So that's going to be the ultimate divestment, is for Los Angeles to divest from all Wall Street banks, not just Wells Fargo, but all extractive private Wall Street banks. So
it's going to be
stay
huge.
tuned for that movement.
And what did you push for
huge.
specifically? Because in the lobbying, you've been lobbying specifically in that 30-point system for what have been some of the points that you've been lobbying for in terms of their considerations?
Environmental factors. So we want them to be able to weigh both the positive contributions as well as the negative contributions. So as far as their investments in pipelines and tar sands and Keystone XL, those are some of the important factors that needs to be weighed in.
So no pipelines, indigenous rights.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
And the pushing for the environmental factor was a big part in incorporating and fighting for indigenous justice, because these pipelines are being built on sacred lands. And so, this divestment movement started at Standing Rock. The conversations originated there, and so we have a lot to be thankful for the struggles of the indigenous. And we hope this fight will embolden and inspire people across the country.
All right, high five. Anything? And how do you feel, Lorraine?
I feel victory.
As an indigenous activist.
It feels amazing. It feels victory. Like a victory. We really needed this. It's exciting and it feels good. And I'm hoping that this brings more drastic changes to our city and to many communities and people of color.
Yeah, awesome. Woo! Okay, big day. We had a great action on Monday, but this is really coming off the backs of 9 months of hard lobbying. I was with Trinity and Ben in Phoenix in Metro Farrell's office on Monday, and they're just tenacious, utterly tenacious. So stay tuned. Really excited for everybody who has put their heart and soul into this. Some people have been doing this for years, and just know if at any point that the banks are too big, the corporations are too big, they have too much money, they have too much power, there's nothing we can do about it. Just know that a small group of concerned citizens, these are not highly paid consultants, these are, some really smart, dedicated millennials, and not just millennials, all sorts of people. But really, this happened because they were absolutely committed and, tenacious, utterly tenacious. So